Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring Freedom in the top right corner, playing the blue Zerg, and in your bottom left, with the red Terran, we have KillerKoala. KillerKoala is in Platinum, I know that much, just based on the red versus blue look of things. This is probably a ladder match on Daybreak, unless I am mistaken. It's one of the newer maps. Small-sized ramp leading down to the natural, which is really easy to defend. You only have one pathway into it. Even though it's a little bit larger, it's still pretty easy to wall off and control. You've got this nice open ground separating the two different pathways into the natural with the destructible debris, widening the small choke, and then a larger pathway leading up to the more exposed third. It definitely favors 2 or 3 base play. With the common ground being so wide open, surrounds are really common. But then you also have the destructible debris, making these chokes kind of dynamic, kind of changes as time goes on, and it can either favor Protoss Terran or it can favor Zerg. So this matchup is really strange and interesting and evolving rapidly. So it's going to be interesting to see what build Freedom chooses to go. KillerKoala, of course, has a lot of different builds just because Terran is so rambunctious, and it's just very chaotic in the builds that you can choose to go in so many different openings, but the differentiation is usually done in the first 5 minutes or so. KillerKoala throwing down an engineering bay. It's not going to be completed. He's just going to get up around 800 hit points and then decide to stop building it, leaving the carcass there to deny the early expand for Freedom. Not the worst thing in the world. Freedom can pop up here and take the third, or just push out some Zerglings from the spawning pool that's already gone down. Either way, it's going to delay the expansion by about 30 seconds, which is a long time in StarCraft, even though it doesn't seem that much. But a good Zerg shouldn't have an issue to bounce back. Early gas for Freedom, so his build's probably not going to hinge on that early expand. It's probably going to hinge on early tech. Gas is probably there for speed, but you can never really be sure until those other units are thrown down. Another kind of abnormal thing about this matchup is KillerKoala grabbing his expansion before the Zerg. You rarely see Terran before Zerg, but we can see 2 refineries coming down before the first barracks, unless I'm mistaken. Nope, it is not thrown down anywhere. So before the first racks goes down, we have 2 gas, which means that KillerKoala is going to be so heavily into tech. And the worst part about that is Freedom, as a perfect scout, seeing both refineries with this Overlord. He knows. He knows that there's going to be a lot of tech. He knows that whatever tech is coming out of KillerKoala is going to be impressive in the later game, but not necessarily right now. So that since he's got that early spawning pool and that early Roach Warren, he's going to be able to poke with just a lot of aggression, and he's going to be able to do a lot of damage unless KillerKoala gets some static defenses up now. Maybe a bunker on the high ground, low ground, 1 bunker right here with couple supply depots, maybe some racks around it, can hold that choke for an impressive amount of time. Another engineering bay coming down. That engineering bay finishes, and immediately a planetary fortress starts warping in KillerKoala's natural expand. I've seen this build before. Usually this is followed up by some starports, and he goes to that mass Raven play. It's the Edgar Allan Poe play, as I like to call it. It's hilarious is what it is. It's just incredibly terrifying if it can make it to the late game, but with Freedom choosing to forego the third expand, choosing to get those roaches out early. Roaches usually can give a planetary fortress a run for its money as long as the saturation is not super good, and as long as there's not a lot of SCVs around there. Planetary fortress still hard counters Zerglings, so they go down almost instantly. The barracks is finally done. It's going to transition down onto the low ground to help wall off the planetary, deny a super surround, but we can already see that roaches are starting to scuttle out from Freedom's base. He's finally getting that natural expand, but with those roaches on the way, 4 or 5 isn't going to be enough to break down the door, but maybe if he gets up into double digits, a dozen, that could be an issue. Another gas coming up. We can see that Freedom's doing a great job keeping the gas down, really hard, mainlining out those roaches. But a lot of gas is being saved up by KillerKoala. He grabbed those early double refineries. None of these have been grabbed yet, but we can expect that once this starport finishes and this tech lab finishes on the factory, the starport's going to switch, and we're going to see the first couple of upgrades for those Ravens come out, unless it is a... It's possible that KillerKoala wants to do the Banshee harass. That's pretty popular on this map just because there's so many different high grounds that you can harass from. You kind of poke out, take out a couple of units, and then go back into the high ground and escape there. But with 2 more refineries coming down, I think that the gas-heavy Raven is going to be the choice of build. And with the Corvid reactor coming up, even despite the Viking coming out, we know that the Ravens is the ultimate build. On the other hand, Freedom, he is fielding that more impressive Roach number, but with the static defenses slowly being built up and this wall slowly being completed, those Roaches aren't going to be able to do the type of damage they need to do to the planetary fortress in a straight-up fight. I believe these Roaches could take that planetary, but with the bunker there, a couple Marines, and then this semi-wall-off almost completed, the Roaches aren't going to be able to engage the planetary fortress as much as they want to. High-sec auto tracking coming out, that's going to buff the planetary fortress, but also the auto turrets that the Ravens can throw down. But the Ravens come in, they start taking the splash damage from the planetary. Bunker does go down, and they do some impressive damage, but unfortunately the planetary is going to be able to push them back. That Viking comes out, it's going to start picking off the handful of overlords that Freedom has away. In fact, he only has 1 out right now. The others tucked safely back at home within a stone throw of their queen. Roach is deciding to come and snake along the north side of the natural expand. KillerKoala pulling his SCVs off from the refinery. That denied gas is not going to absolutely destroy KillerKoala, but it is going to deny some of the Ravens, because that's going to be the limiting factor on how many Ravens he can get out. Planetary Fortress shelling those Ravens, or those Roaches. They take quite a lot of damage, finally work their way into a corner, but no, it's still within range of that planetary. Another 3 go down. It looks like these 2 aren't going to go down from the planetary, but a single Raven that's already out is going to throw down an auto turret. It's going to take down the rest of them. They get that refinery burning, but if KillerKoala notices, yeah, he's going to have that guy repair it. So that's not going to be lost. The other gas is going to go up, and all of a sudden we have a 2-base Zerg on a 2-base Terran, and the Terran has a lot of impressive tech out. So what can Freedom do? Freedom needs to bust down the wall. Well, he's got a planetary fortress in the way. That's going to be rough. He needs to go either flying tech or this Nidus Worm. Phenomenal. This is probably what I would do. Nidus Worm is going to be great because you can drop it somewhere in the base, somewhere that the enemy doesn't have vision. This Marine is patrolling along the east wall for KillerKoala. Great play by Freedom, or by KillerKoala, denying the Overlord, the Suicide Overlord, which might see the starport. Because that Overlord got in early and saw the refinery, that doesn't really do much. But what it's going to do now is deny an Overlord from scouting so that he can throw down a Nidus Worm right here and get a bunch of Roaches in there. It's interesting to see that Freedom hasn't elected to get the 3rd. He's got the money. I don't know what he's saving up for. The limiting factor for the Roaches is gas, not minerals. And if he could get up another expansion, he could start to catch up money-wise. But here we can see the Overlord's coming in. It's going to have an issue with the Marine, but if it swung down on the left side, he could throw it into one of these corners, and even though it would be immediately spotted, it'd be difficult for KillerKoala to react appropriately. But it looks like Freedom is going to find the one place there isn't vision by KillerKoala, wait for that Marine to move away, and then throw down the Nidus. He's got how many Roaches? 16 Roaches, which is going to do quite a lot of damage. Only 1 Banshee on the field and 2 Ravens. 1 Raven had its energy taken away, but with the Seeker Missile upgrade on the way and no units at all, KillerKoala is really not fielding a force that's prepared to deal with 16 Roaches in his main. It's really going to come down to Freedom. What can he do in the handful of moments that it's going to take for the Banshee to take down this force? There's a lot of Roaches. They take a lot of damage, and we have 4 Banshees on the way with these 4 Tech Lab starports, or 5. They're going to be able to crank out quite a lot of units, but focusing down the first Tech Lab on the starport, which was researching the Hunter Seeker Missile upgrade, great play. Unfortunately, the Nidus Worm is going to go down and deny any additional resources. I think there were a handful of units, just a couple of roaches left in there. These roaches are going to come down to the natural, which he knows has a planetary fortress. This is a mistake. He needs to stay up there and take down the infrastructure, take down those starports and those tech labs. Focus on the orbital command, taking down the refineries. The economic blow is what he needs to do here. He's floating quite a lot of money. That third needs to go up right now. This attack is definitely a success. It's done quite a lot of damage. It's definitely hindered KillerKoala's economy, as well as getting out that critical number of units. It's forced him to create Banshees instead of Ravens. It's a good play, but Freedom needs to follow it up with something more impressive than more roaches. He needs to take this expand, and it looks like he agrees. He's grabbing that third, as well as having a Hydralisk Den on the way, which is great. Hydras fire very, very quickly, and can kind of negate the point defense drones quicker than almost any other unit. So they're a good choice against Ravens. Maybe not the best. I think the best is Corruptors if they're microed properly. Any air unit really likes to bundle up and makes them vulnerable to Hunter Seeker missiles, but against the Ravens auto turrets, Hydralisks get shredded pretty quickly, so it's really, you know, 6 in one hand, half dozen to another. But Aspire on the way with the Hydralisk's Den and the Infestor Pit, so he's going to have a lot of different options on how to deal with these Ravens. Unfortunately, KillerKoala is electing to grab a third in the wake of that rather destructive attack. Looks like his harvester count is a little bit behind, but with mules he's going to be able to kick up. However, that mule count is severely stunted by the fact that he's got a planetary fortress at both of his expands. Only one orbital throwing down mules. So the lead that a Terran would have normally by being 3 base versus 3 base isn't as severe as you might think. Level 1 range, level 1 armor. Good choice just given the matchup. It's going to really help the Hydralisk's Den. You can see that there's drones dying at the main, but it's because the, not drones, larvae. It's because they weren't being used. The larva injects were going in, but the larvae weren't getting used. That's because he was floating so much money. He could just take out, I think it was 21 new drones. All that money could be spent on the hatchery if that third had gone down just a little bit sooner. We can see he's got a macro hatch, which is a great play. The Evo chambers are up, so it's surprising that we don't see any spore crawlers, especially because we saw 5, where are they? 5 Banshees. Yeah, there we go. 5 Banshees. No cloak researched yet, but if KillerKoala decides to get that, those Banshees could really devastate any of these expansions. We can see a 4th going down right now, but there's really no detection on the field yet. He can morph in some Overseers to counter the cloaking ability, but you know that takes time, especially since he doesn't have one on the field right now. Some static defenses like Spore Crawlers could help out in that. I think he's more afraid of the Ravens. With a 2nd Spire down, he's going to be mainlining out the air defenses. You can see he's got 10 Corruptors on the way right now, so he's going to have many different choices in dealing with the Ravens, but I think he's going to wait for KillerKoala to make the first move, which is a bit of a mistake. Every moment that goes by, this third gets more and more saturated. The economic lead is going to be slowly stunted by time. Basically, when the saturation at the main gets back up and running, the Freedom is gonna lose the lead he has right now. But if he keeps up with the Corruptor production, if his supply keeps getting larger and larger, if he keeps taking bases, then there's no reason why he can't take this from KillerKoala. It's going to be interesting to see how cost effective these Ravens can be. They're worth so much gas that you really need to take down more than just one expansion with the Ravens. He can't afford to lose them all to one engagement to these Corruptors. So if we see that, if we see a bunch of Ravens go down in one engagement, then that could be it. On the other hand, Freedom, because he's floating 4 expansions and a lot of money, he can afford to just throw away Corruptors. He can afford to just throw them against the wall. It'd be interesting. He's got the Nidus Worm up right now. Why doesn't he go in and throw in another one in the exact same place? Just stream some Zerglings in there. Keep KillerKoala defending his base rather than attacking. That's a rather intimidating number of Ravens, 15. I don't know what the number KillerKoala is waiting for, but once you get 10, you can take down an expansion pretty much with one flyby, throwing down all those autocannons and then just leaving. I think KillerKoala is waiting for a more intimidating number, but he's there with 11 more corruptors on the field, and we already have 14, 8, 12. 12 corruptors. Once all those pop, KillerKoala is going to be up against a wall of corruptors that are going to be able to do quite a lot of damage in one volley. And since corruptors fire so slowly, they're really easy to fly in, do one volley, fly out, and dodge those Hunter-Seeker missiles, which do quite a lot of damage if the air units bundle up. KillerKoala, good instincts, finds the top left corner. I don't know if he was just flying his guys up there to get him into position, or if he honestly suspected that there was an expansion there, but there was, and that goes down. The Ravens coming up, throwing down more autocannons on the high ground to punish the third, but it's instantly met by all these corruptors, which are going to come in. Point defense drone goes down immediately. 1 Hunter-Seeker missile, 2 and 3 comes out. The corruptors stop flying away, and they take damage from both of the missiles, but you can see that they're all still up. Yeah, they've taken quite a lot of damage, but they're all still up, and they're still doing damage. 21 Ravens on the field to the, what is it, 21 to 21 basically. But it's going to be interesting to see how cost effective the Ravens can be, because remember, each corruptor can go down pretty easy. Yeah, he's short on gas, but he's got quite a lot of money. It's interesting to see that he's not choosing to produce anything else. Brood Lords are coming out. They'd be very effective if Freedom could actually do something to KillerKoala's expansions. If he could get in there, start doing damage to the expansions, that's awesome. Another Hunter-Seeker missile goes down on the corruptors. 18 goes to 15. Another one coming out. It's very tense right now. Very tense. The Brood Lords, they're being able to shell down the auto turrets, but if they get caught by any of the auto turrets are gonna be able to take down the Brood Lords, and they're so expensive. That's not really the best choice for Freedom right now. Freedom needs more corruptors. He needs some Hydras. He needs to entice the Ravens onto the creep so that the Hydras can close very quickly and get underneath them. Hydras will have a hard time against the Banshees, but if the corruptors can force the ball of Ravens to get separated from those Banshees, get separated from these Vikings, then the outcome could be more favorable. A small number of Hydras rushing in, going to take down the point defense drone, but unfortunately several Seeker missiles go down on the Hydras, which is actually much better for Freedom, because that leaves the weakened corruptors to come in, and it looks like the Ravens are going to retreat, even though all those corruptors are in very, very low health. You can see only 14 corruptors, 4 more coming out. It's surprising not to see the replacement of corruptors as quickly as possible, but again, the gas is so stunted. He's mining off of every base, but he just doesn't have the amount of gas that he needs to produce these units. Floating a lot of minerals. He needs to take more expansions, maybe in the bottom right corner, maybe just directly down on that third. Otherwise, he's in pretty good shape. Brood Lords feeling pretty good. He's repelled that attack right now. Yeah, he lost 2 expansions, but one wasn't saturated except for gas. And he's pushed back the Ravens back into their main and severely weakened them. Each one that goes down is pretty much a priceless investment. 5 more Ravens coming out for KillerKoala, and KillerKoala has no shortage of gas. Brood Lords slowly advancing down into this third. They're going to be able to do quite a lot of damage here despite the planetary fortress, but it's going to force KillerKoala to engage. 64 Zerglings on the way. If those Zerglings are 1-8 into this expansion, it's going to do nothing. They're going to die. But if he finds a place that's more exposed, such as this guy, those Zerglings could do significantly more damage than one that has a completed wall off. Corruptors coming in, the perfect angle, taking down lots of Ravens, dealing lots of damage. Another Hunter-Seeker missile coming down. Oh, terrible damage right there. And finally, it's engaging the Vikings, but they're all going to go down just because the sheer number of corruptors, 18. He's finally doing the damage he needs to do. Multiple Hunter-Seeker missiles. There's no micro going on at all. One more Hunter-Seeker could just destroy this whole pack, but it looks like he's finally pulling them back far enough. Will it go down? No. They both time out, but the Brood Lords are now totally exposed. A Viking coming in is going to start shelling them down. The Zerglings come in. Fortunately, the Zerglings arrive just when the wall goes down, so they're capable of doing more damage than they would have otherwise if that wall was up. Broodlords are going to be repelled. We only have 10 Corruptors on the field right now. The Zerglings are going to go down eventually. I don't think they're going to be able to take down the Planetary Fortress, especially with the Banshees fighting back, but this is exactly what Freedom needs to do. He needs to keep that aggression up, he needs to keep the Raven number down, and he needs to keep taking expansions, keep getting more gas out, especially if his gas begins to get mined out. We can see one already gone, another one's going to be ticking down, so that gas income is going to be dropping. And with that gas income, you're going to see a direct correlation with the number of Corruptors we have on the field, and those Corruptors are pretty much the only answer that Freedom has to this Raven play. What can KillerKoala do? He's already doing one thing. He's taking another expansion, morphing it back into a planetary, making it very resilient against this Zergling type of attack. That's not a number big enough to scare a planetary fortress, but these guys are. Broodlords supported by Corruptors, an excellent answer. Unfortunately, the number of Ravens is quickly becoming just so big. Huge Hunter-Seeker missiles, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that just destroys all 18 of those Corruptors. There's no air support now. These Broodlords are going to go down instantly. There's no gas for Freedom to... Yeah, you said it, buddy. Oh my goodness. There's no gas for Freedom to re-macro with. You can't do anything with just Zerglings against this type of air-based play with the planetaries. That was good game. That just shows you what Micro can do. The Hunter-Seeker missiles are so awesome against Corruptors that are just balled up. It takes several of those missiles to take down that mass of Corruptors, but it's incredibly cost effective. I don't even want to look at the units lost tab. Oh my goodness, it's twice as bad. That's brutal. I think Freedom is actually paralyzed right now because I would have GG'd out of the game. But with these Ravens throwing down, with their almost infinite amount of energy, they're going to be able to take it down. It looks like he's waiting to see exactly how much damage these Zerglings and these Zerglings can do. If he had attacked with one group into one expansion, maybe it could do more. But do these guys have any upgrades? 2 armor. Unfortunately, it's not going to be as successful as this attack from KillerKoala, which takes down that natural, one of the only places that's producing gas. Freedom GG's out of the game. I feel like Freedom's decision making was perfect. The Nidus in the main was an awesome idea, and it was successful. He had an expansion placed up when he had that lead. He did. It was very smart to get the Spires, very smart to get the Corruptors. Micro killed them. Those Hunter-Seeker missiles, I believe I've mispronounced it the entire game. Just Seeker missiles. They're not Hunter-Seekers. Hunter-Seekers, I think, is a Lucia site. I don't know. So those things are powerful. They do quite a lot of damage. That micro is what cost Freedom the game, and it won KillerKoala the game. It was good micro on his part, bad micro on Freedom's part, good decision making on both part. It was a great game. I really appreciate Angry Kitten for posting it. I appreciate you for watching it. If you have a comment for me, I'd love to hear from you. If you have a game you want me to cast, that'd be awesome too. You could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys around. Bye.